Hello and welcome. Tonight, again, the president appeals to citizens for understanding over the harsh economic realities facing the country following drastic reforms by the federal government. Walking the talk, the federal government approves 5 billion naira for each state of the federation, releases trucks of rice as palliatives to cushion the effects of the removal of fuel subsidy. And suspended Central Bank Governor Mr. Godwin Emefiele to return to court on August the 23rd, following failure to arraign him today due to the absence of a second defendant. On business news tonight, Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation set to begin investigation of the directors and officers of 183 banks whose licenses were revoked earlier this year.
On sports news tonight, the majority decision by a panel of disciplinary tribunal clears Nigeria's Toby Amusan of any anti-doping rule violation, thereby lifts our provisional suspension.
And from the nation's capital, Defense Headquarters announces death of 36 military personnel killed during an ambush just 3 days ago in a village in Niger State, and the crash of Nigeria Air Force helicopter on an evacuation mission in that area.
And in international news from London, more than 60 people are feared dead after a boat carrying migrants was found off Cape Verde in West Africa.
The government is not unmindful of the challenges being faced by Nigerians as a result of its economic policies, and that's coming from the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. George Akume. Mr. Akume, who was speaking on behalf of President Bola Tinubu at a book launch in Abuja, however, appealed to Nigerians to bear the pains of the reforms because it's in the interest of the country to take such tough decisions in order to remove all bottlenecks hampering the growth of the economy. The book launch in honor of elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark attracted a large turnout of dignitaries. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni reports.
It's a gathering of the creme de la creme in Nigeria, from heads of state to top politicians, royal fathers and diplomats at the presentation of the autobiography of elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark, titled Brutally Frank. President Bola Tinubu, who is represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, uses the occasion to make an appeal to Nigerians over the economic situation in the country.
He has also asked me to tell this gathering that we are going through a difficult phase in the history of this country. But these pains are pains of birth of a new nation. And that if you want to celebrate a child, a baby, then the mother must go through some pains. But at the end of the day, there is joy, there is merriment when the baby arrives. And we will certainly be there. Solutions to problems can never be as instant as coffee, but we must certainly be there. I know the removal of fuel subsidy has created some pains, and that is why palliatives are being put in place. 100 trucks, fertilizers have been sent to the states. 100 trucks of grains have been sent, and more are coming, and more buses are also coming. We can endure this for a moment. But what we're going through today is for a better tomorrow.
Former military head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, is the chairman of the occasion and is optimistic that Nigeria will overcome its current challenges.
I am hopeful that the younger generations will be better informed on our experiences, which has brought the country to what it is today, on which our President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who would have been here with us, represent the center of our common aspirations of peace, unity, and progress.
The book highlights the experiences of the convener of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, as well as contributions to nation building. Former President Goodluck Jonathan commends the elder statesman for his roles in national development.
You will know that Ike Clark is somebody that we need to appreciate. I didn't meet Ike Clark until I became a deputy governor of Bayelsa State. Can't remember exactly the date. But then my governor traveled out of the country, and there was a problem within the Niger Delta. And Ike Clark was to come to Yenagoa. We had a meeting with others. That was the first time we interacted. And when I listened to him, I saw a person whose vision was for Nigeria, whose vision was for the security of this country, whose vision was for the unity of this country.
Other speakers also commend the fatherly role of the Ijaw leader.
A true elder statesman and a phenomenal patriot, Chief Dr. Edwin Clark, who has remained brutally frank in his submissions over the years. I am therefore not surprised that his autobiography is titled Brutally Frank. Those of us who know him closely, we attest to the fact that Chief Dr. Senator Edwin Clark will not fail to tell you the brutal truth at all times.
Each and every one of us here, we have come to this world, and at some point we will leave this world. We should all know that whatever we do, either good or bad, people will remember us for something. What can you and what will you be remembered for?
We thank Allah for giving us Chief Edwin Clark, still alive and healthy. And I pray himself and our father, General Gawan, and of course other senior citizens here, they will use their vast experience in life to keep this country united.
Wonderful document.
Senator George Akume then leads other dignitaries to unveil the book.
God bless Edwin Clark. God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Well, the consensus of eminent Nigerians, including President Bola Tinubu, who have attended this book launch in honor of Senator Edwin Clark, is that his life exemplifies the unity and the oneness of Nigeria, something that all Nigerians must emulate. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
Away from the book launch, but staying with matters of the economy, the federal government has approved the sum of 5 billion naira each for state governors for the procurement of grains and fertilizers as part of efforts to cushion the impact of fuel subsidy removal. This is part of the resolutions reached at the National Economic Council meeting held at the Presidential Villa. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
It's the third National Economic Council meeting of Kogi State, Shey Mende of State, Borno State, Charles Soludo of Anambra State, and Ubasani of Kaduna State briefed journalists on some of the resolutions reached, beginning with a preliminary report on the 2022 flood disaster, which claimed over 600 lives.
Only 16 out of the total number of affected states forwarded their submission to NEC Secretariat to date, as expected. About 15 others were yet to do so. There is therefore the need to expedite the release of funds to affected states as recommended by the designated committee constituted by the federal government to that effect. This will go a long way in addressing the needs of the victims as well as offset debts incurred by some states to some citizens.
Some vital resolutions were also reached by the Council to address the difficulties faced by Nigerians in the aftermath of subsidy removal.
The federal government of Nigeria has released 5 trucks of rice to each state last week. Furthermore, in order to cushion the effect of food shortages across the country, the federal government has approved the sum of 5 billion naira to be given to each state for the procurement of 100,000 bags of rice, 40,000 bags of maize, and fertilizers. 52% of this money is given to states as grants, while 48% of the 5 billion naira is to be paid back on an installment basis within a period of 2 years, 20 months to the CBN by the states and the local government areas in Nigeria.
Clarification here is again, 5 billion was actually approved, but until this moment, only 2 billion have been given to the states.
A committee was also set up to interface with organized labor over the fuel subsidy removal. The committee is chaired by the governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Soludo. The National Economic Council also noted with concern the impact of the crisis in Niger, especially on food security in frontline states, and directed that the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, expedite action on the distribution of food to those who are mostly affected. From the Presidential Villa, Abuja, Empress Simon, Channels Television News.
To legal matters, the planned arraignment of the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, at the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Abuja today was stalled. Although Mr. Emefiele, who is the first defendant, was in court, the second defendant, Sadat Yaro, was absent, prompting the arraignment to be adjourned to the 23rd of August 2023. Counsel to the federal government and Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, Mr. Mohammed Abubakar, informed the court that Mr. Datu Yaro took ill earlier today and was unable to make it to court. Justice Mazu subsequently fixed the 23rd of August 2023 for the arraignment.
It was a calm atmosphere at the FCT High Court in Maitama, Abuja, as personnel of the Department of State Services positioned themselves ahead of the planned arraignment of the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. As journalists waited outside the courtroom to capture the arrival of Mr. Emefiele, he walks briskly into the court from one of the adjoining offices around the court, but the arraignment was, however, stalled owing to the absence of the second defendant, Saadatu Yaro. Counsel to the federal government, Mr. Mohammed Abubakar, while applying for a new date for the arraignment, informed the court that Mrs. Yaro took ill in the morning and is unable to make it to the court. The application for adjournment was not opposed by Mr. Emefiele's counsel, Akin Lulu Kehinde, SAN. After the adjournment, lawyers and security agents shield Mr. Emefiele from the prying cameras of journalists in court.
Right now, you go for press conference. Let's go and go outside.
Probably to further ensure the TV cameras are unable to capture Mr. Emefiele, the lights in the courtroom suddenly go off. Outside the courtroom, counsel to Mr. Emefiele berates the federal government for stalling the arraignment.
The matter was meant for arraignment this morning, but two things played out, which clearly showed that the complainant itself was not ready for the arraignment. The second defendant was not made available. The second defendant was not in court. And it is right that all the defendants in a charge must be present to take their plea. And consequently, the complainant on its own requested for an adjournment for the arraignment to be done at a later date.
Lawyers in defense of democracy and human rights on their part decry the planned arraignment of Mr. Emefiele.
The DSS was formed to look at internal security, to handle matters that borders on internal security, terrorism. We expected that the charges will reflect terrorism count charges. Unfortunately, or surprisingly, what we saw was matters bordering on procurement, that he gave contract for the award of land cruisers. Gentlemen, this is a charade.
The suspended governor of the central bank will be arraigned alongside Saadatu Yaro and her company April 1616 Investment Limited on a 20-count charge of procurement fraud, conspiracy, and conferring corrupt advantages on his associates to the tune of 6.9 billion naira.
In part 2, after the break, we have more on the suspended CBN governor, plus 3 crew members still missing 2 days after a swamp rig contracted by Seplat collapsed in Oval River of Delta State. That's in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Again, the president appeals to citizens for understanding over the harsh economic realities facing the country following drastic reforms by the federal government. And walking the talk, the federal government approves 5 billion naira for each state of the federation, releases trucks of rice as palliatives to cushion the effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. Suspended central bank governor Mr. Godwin Emefiele to return to court on August the 23rd following failure to arraign him today due to the absence of the second defendant who took ill. And migrant boat capsizes off the coast of Cape Verde, leaving at least 60 people dead. 38 others, including children, were rescued on the island of Sal. We continue in the courtrooms. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has struck out the illegal possession of firearm charge against Ms. Emefiele following an application by the Ministry of Justice to withdraw it. Justice Nicholas Owebo struck out the charge after holding that the prosecution had the statutory powers to withdraw a charge against the defendant at any stage of trial. The judge, in his ruling, held that the application filed by the Director of Public Prosecution, Mohammed Abubakar, seeking the withdrawal of the case is found in Section 108 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. The defense, through its lead counsel, Joseph Daudu, had argued that the prosecution could not withdraw the charge unless the government purged itself of its disobedience to the court order of July the 25th, granting Ms. Emefiele bail. Away from legal matters, more than 48 hours after a swamp rig contracted by Seplat Energy PLC collapsed in Oval River, Delta State, 3 crew members who were declared missing are still unaccounted for. The management of the company explained in a statement that the single recorded fatality in the incident was a British national. Meanwhile, out of the other 92 crew members, 10 who were admitted to hospital have been discharged. The collapsed rig was in transit to its next dual location at Ofor. Seplat Energy is the operator of OMLS 4, 38 and 41 on behalf of the NNPCL and Seplat joint venture. And we're off to Abuja now for more stories. Terry, welcome back.
Oh, thank you very much, Millicent. That means a lot to me. Now, a total of 36 military personnel died in the recent Air Force helicopter crash and an attack by terrorists on soldiers, which occurred in Niger State recently, and that's according to the Defense Headquarters. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, made this known in Abuja, where he gave the breakdown of casualties in the ambush of troops and evacuation helicopter crash. When asked about the cause of the helicopter crash, he said that an investigation is underway to determine the cause, and urged citizens to be wary of propaganda by terrorists.
Troops, while conducting offensive operation, entered into an ambush in Kudu General Area in Chiruru Local Government Area of Niger State. And then the ambush and the firefight resulted in the death of 3 officers, 22 soldiers, while 7 were wounded in action. As a result of this, there was need for casualty evacuation, whereby the Air Force helicopter was dispatched While that process was on, that operation was on, and inbound to Abuja, the helicopter crashed. And it crashed to Kaduna, sorry. It crashed. And it crashed with 14 of the previously killed in action personnel at the ambush, 7 of the previous wounded in action personnel at the ambush, the 2 pilots for the helicopter, and 2 crew members. And what caused the plane crash can only be determined by the time an investigation is conducted. As I speak to you, troops are advancing to the location. You must know it's a hostile environment. Troops are advancing to the location. They will get there, they will recover the corpse, and they will discover what caused the plane crash. After that, you can be sure that that will be communicated to all of us. Thank you.
The Nigeria Governors Forum has held an emergency security meeting with the National Security Advisor in attendance. The meeting, which held behind closed doors at the Forum Secretariat in Abuja, also had in attendance the Special Advisor to the President on Health, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Agriculture, and officials of the World Bank. At the end of the 7-hour meeting, which lasted into the early hours of today, Chairman of the Forum, who was also the Governor of Kwara State, told journalists that the meeting was to strengthen security communications between the states and the Office of the National Security Advisor.
The NSA requested to meet the governors to attend the meeting. It just shows the proactiveness of this administration to say, let's discuss issues robustly, let's engage with the states. Unlike before, the NSA's office never engaged directly with the states. So this is a good development and briefing us on security within the country and the context and how to engage better with the National Security Advisor's Office, communication-wise, capacity building between the Office of the National Security Advisor and Chief Security Officers and security advisors in the state. So it's much more about robust engagement and setting a new agenda for security in Nigeria. The NSA did tell us, about the meeting that he brokered between the frontline states, bordering Niger Republic, and the president, which we also saw in the media as well. But as a forum, the issue of Niger was not discussed. The governors also urged that henceforth, most of the programs either to have been done by SECBN should be transferred to the Ministry of Agriculture, because under the previous administration, there are some overlapping programs, like the Outgrower scheme, which should be under the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, was under Central Bank, for example.
The Imo State Governor Hope Uzodimma and the immediate past governor of the state, Owele Rochas Okorocha, were today seen at the presidential villa together. The 2 men were in the company of the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Abdullahi Ganduje. They were seen walking to the president's office and walked out in less than 5 minutes, accompanied by the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu. When approached, Governor Uzodimma declined comments on the purpose of their visit to the villa. There has been reported confrontations between the administration of Governor Hope Uzodimma and his predecessor, who was the governor of Imo State between 2011 and 2019. The Kano State government has suspended the increment of school fees by all private schools operating in the state. The schools are also expected to renew their operating licenses to keep tabs with Governor Abba Yusuf's policy on quality education in the state. This is coming after the special advisor to the Kano State government on private schools, Baba Umar, had a meeting with private schools stakeholders. Channels TV's correspondent, Nanchin Vincent, spoke with some school owners and parents on the new development.
Are on holiday at the moment. Private school owners are looking forward to resumption for a new session after the price hike on commodities due to subsidy removal. Some of these schools' managements have already gone ahead to increase the fees payable by parents of pupils and students. In Kano, the government has given a mandate to all private school owners to suspend any thought of increase of school fees and ensure that their operating licenses are renewed, amongst others.
Schools are on holidays now, and I know the interests of these proprietors and proprietaries. Nigeria is under economic situation, very difficult period. And most of the parents, majority of the parents are civil servants, while some are in the business. And the law says that no school should increase school fees without following the due process. You have to convene a meeting with the parents, with the PTA, representative of Ministry of Education, representative of the board, stopping school owners to arbitrarily and insist on buying uniform, purchase of books. It's still in the law. I did not say they should not increase school fees, but it's now temporarily suspended.
He is optimistic that the new registration will provide accurate database for government policies and monitoring for a sanitized sector.
Nobody will escape this new database. We'll make sure that if you are not there, you are not a school. If you did not come and revalidate, we'll consider you as operating illegally, and I will take the appropriate steps within the law to sanction you.
In the meantime, proprietors of schools have mixed feelings about the school fees increase suspension.
This increment of school fees is something that should be allowed because things are very costly now.
With the look of things are not very easy for us. Owners of schools are facing it so daily because of payment of salaries and the rest. And parents are also complaining. So there is no need, even though we should increase school fees now, increasing or not increasing will not even solve the issue now. The only thing we are asking for God to intervene.
Parents, on the other hand, are happy with the development.
The opinion for the school fees not to be increased, in the sense that if you increase the school fees, what are the increment in salary of parents? Because the civil servant, their salary has not been increased. So even if you go ahead and increase school fees, where will parents get the money to pay the school fees?
Isn't I support them to not increase the school fees? You lose the situation of Nigeria now. It's not balanced very well. The Kumar will come with our new president now. Everything have to go slow, if everything will be cut down. Maybe in front, people can increase amount, but now it cannot increase.
Issuance of the registration forms has started, and the government says it will clamp down on private school operators who fail to comply. From Kano Commercial City, Nancy Vincent, Channels Television News.
Well, Nigerians will soon begin to enjoy a more efficient method of mail processing, distribution, and delivery through a transformative initiative on the digital evolution of postcodes and national addressing system verification. Presenting his address on the report on the pilot test for postcode areas delineation, model, and national addressing system in Abuja today, the Postmaster General of the Federation, Mr. Adepoju Adeyemi, says the National Digital Alphanumeric Postcode Systems, beyond its postal function, also functions as a geocode, facilitating the direct identification of geographical units in the country.
This project holds the potential to redefine the way we connect and communicate, setting the stage for a new era of efficiency and accessibility. In a world where digital solutions and data utilization have taken center stage, an increasing number of postal operators, NIPOS included, are wholeheartedly embracing digital transformation to elevate operational efficiency in strict adherence to the federal government policy concerning a standard national addressing system. We have undertaken the adoption of alphanumeric postal system. Our ambition extends far beyond the realm of postcode. We have absolutely recognized the imperative of establishing a robust system for national address verification. perfectly aligned with the principles of the National Addressing Policy. This endeavor encompasses the creation of a standardized process to ensure the utmost accuracy and reliability in confirming and validating the addresses and other occupants throughout the nation. The National Digital Alphanumeric Postcode System is an initiative that has the potential to significantly improve nationwide service delivery, enhance security, and generate revenue for NIPOS and other government agencies.
That wraps it up from the nation's capital. Back to you, Millicent.
Thanks, Terry. And in the quest to create the most preferred platform that delivers value through sustainable and scalable solutions benefiting people and businesses alike, Optimus Bank has unveiled a new branch in Victoria Island, Lagos. The new branch is the third in Lagos and is expected to serve as the head office as well as a vital hub for the bank's operations, enabling increased support and service delivery to customers. The Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was the special guest of honor, performed the unveiling of the facility.
A historic and significant milestone as Optimus Bank announces itself as a new digital-led national commercial bank focused on driving financial inclusion within Nigeria and subsequently beyond our borders.
Good to have you here, sir.
Governor Sanwo-Olu is here and challenges the bank to leapfrog their competitors.
This ceremony is a testament to the spirit of innovation, collaboration that also defines our state. I'm sure, like they've said, the only thing that they can do now is to be very innovative, is to be very smart, so that they can leapfrog and catch up with all of the big boys in the industry.
Optimus Bank here.
Inside the facility is a fascinating banking hall, customer care experience space, seminar hall, lunchroom, and more. The offices are also top-notch, fully equipped to enhance smooth transactions.
A beacon of hope.
Earlier, at a press briefing, chairman of the bank, Mr. Ogogo Akpata, highlights the bank's vision, while the managing director, Mr. Ademola Odeyemi, says the bank's strategic ambition includes empowering businesses and growth of Nigerians. But that's not all.
We are poised to leverage the latest digital technologies and innovations to revolutionize banking services in Nigeria, making them accessible to all, especially the underserved communities. We understand the critical role that financial inclusion plays in driving economic growth and empowering individuals and businesses to achieve their full potential.
To all our customers, I assure you that Optimus Bank will always be there for you, supporting you through every stage of your journey and empowering you to take that leap towards a brighter tomorrow. We have crafted products tailored to your specific needs, all in a bid to deliver new experiences and unique solutions.
As a financial services platform that recognizes the core needs of Nigeria's diverse customer base, the bank says it has built intuitive products that showcase simple features and practical solutions.
Time for business news. Here's Anne Wilder.
Thank you, Millicent. Hello and welcome to Business News. The Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, the NDIC, says it is set to probe the directors and officers of the 183 microfinance banks and primary mortgage banks whose licenses were revoked earlier this year. The managing director of the NDIC, Bello Hassan, who made this known to journalists at a capacity-building workshop for law enforcement agencies in Lagos, says they will be probed for their roles in the collapse of their institutions. He explains that the collaboration with the law enforcement agencies, including the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Nigerian Police, among others, aims to complement the efforts of the Interagency Task Force on the implementation of Failed Banks Act to combat financial malpractices and insider abuses in banks. A consortium led by Transco Power Limited has acquired a 60% stake in Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, and this is coming about 10 years after the company, EOF Nigeria's energy company, the Ughelli Power Plant, in 2013 during the privatization of the power sector. Following this acquisition, the company has also appointed Mr. Christopher Ezeafulukwe as the new managing director and CEO of AEDC. Transco Power Limited, which is a subsidiary of Transco Group, one of Nigeria's leading conglomerates with investments in the hospitality, power, and oil and gas sectors. There is need for more reverse collateral to be used in deepening financial inclusion among small businesses in Nigeria. Well, that's according to the founder of Trade Lender, Mr. Adeshino Adewumi. Speaking today on our Business Morning program, Mr. Adewumi believes that this will create more funds for SMEs and also help in addressing the challenges of unemployment in the country.
Okay, so today what most of these digital banks do is actually to be able to do a reverse collateral. So why give a small business owner who actually just needs inventory, cash, when you can actually pay to the supplier to actually provide that inventory? What that actually removes is the risk of diversion. This is actually some of the steps that digital banks like us and several others have taken to be able to remove the issues around diversion and also need to actually ask for an upfront collateral. The banks today will still ask for collateral, which these guys cannot meet up with. And again, the banks are still leveraging on paper. Most of the banks are leveraging on paper. The digital lenders, while we understand that there are some loan sharks who are not ethical in their approach to recovery of funds, but most of those who have been approved by the FCCPC, there are about 167 names and lists, today, if you check their website, who are legally, stamped to be able to support these small businesses. What they do is they have been able to, create systems that helps them to be able to identify all in one platform, either the credit history, what they want to use the funds to, and also partner with the right people who can guarantee these guys and also provide inventory or various forms of assets, in place of giving them cash. So, for example, a small business owner in the Dumota market who perhaps needs a deep freezer to be able to grow and scale a business, instead of giving her cash, you can work with various partners, finance that on their behalf once you can qualify that they don't have a bad credit history so that they can get that deep freezer to be able to grow.
The price of Bitcoin slipped below $29,000 today, and that's after the U.S. Federal Reserve suggested maintaining its hawkish stance in its meeting minutes released on August the 16th. And this is coming after cryptocurrencies remain under pressure. Investors have grappled with renewed concerns about the U.S. economy. The world's biggest digital assets dropped by 2% overnight, but it was last lower by about 4% at $27,901,000, and that's according to the latest data by Coinmetrics. There's still no respite for the local stock markets today. The decline continues as it enters the fourth consecutive day in the week. Let's hear the details from Ini John Mekwa.
Thank you so much, Anne. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, we begin today's report with the counters, looking at what's happening with the sectors. Our favorite, most liquid counter is in the negative today. That's because most of the figures were down. Only Fidelity gained just a bit, so it's still down. Oil and gas is up. Thanks to Eternal Oil, 0.06%, and consumer goods as well, 0.34%. Now, when we look at the activity, it's a mixture, but guess who wins? It's the red. Yeah, so the only volume, which doesn't really tell us much, just some activity in the market, either positive or negative, only volume is positive. Their value dropped from yesterday, as well as the deals. So it's easy to say that the all-share index will be in the red. That's what we have at the close of trade. The all-share index dropped at the close, 0.27% at 64,448.96. But the only good thing is the market cap is still at 35 trillion naira. And so once again, the bear is the winner for today. looks like it's going to be a bare-filled week. Maybe there'll be a change tomorrow. That's the stock market report. Back to you, Anne.
And that's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues now with Millicent.
Thanks, Anne. To some company news now. Hero Lager Beer, a product of International Breweries PLC, has hosted some key players in the entertainment industry, as well as music lovers, for the unveiling of the Worthy album in Lagos. Managers of the brand say this is part of its commitment to the People's Hero Initiative arm of the brand that gives social support to the markets the business plays in, while fostering an ecosystem for creatives in the music industry.
It's an evening of entertainment as music enthusiasts, celebrities and music executives joined the management of the Hero Lager Beer for the listening party of the Worthy album launch. The Worthy album, an offshoot of the brand's thematic campaign, Rhodia, unveiled earlier this year, provides the platform for fast-rising artists from the southeast and south-south regions of Nigeria to collaborate and make music that will showcase their uniqueness.
The idea of the initiative is to back these guys. We are going the whole 9 yards to ensure that these guys come from different aspects of the Nigerian industry, the Nigerian music industry, and we're going to see them through to ensure that at the end of the day, we're not going to leave them by the roadside or leave them along the way, but we're going to make sure as a brand, and our commitment is to ensure that, we take them global.
You thrive when the community thrives. So if we develop the creative industry in the southeast and south of Nigeria, that would lead to the development of any other allied industry.
The artists deliver electrifying performances from the 12-track album, which explores different genres of music, one of which features music star and an ambassador of the Hero brand, Rude Boy, in one of its tracks, while the full body of work is created under the creative direction of Ace Rapper and Hero's brand ambassador, Ill Bliss.
We didn't choose greenhorns. We chose artists that were already in motion, took them in, recorded a lot of music. So we sat down in the camp and we were one big, happy, hungry family trying to make music that would impact. It wasn't just high life. So we dabbled into Amapiano, we dabbled into hip hop, we dabbled into soul, we dabbled into everything, pop music. And the result is the Worthy album.
And we had ambassadors who are very known in this field, like the likes of Rude Boy, Ill Bliss. So what they just did were basically guidance of this artist to ensure that, they project their best self and also giving their best as they worked on the project.
Hero Lager says it's committed to distinguishing itself as a beer that not only rewards the hero in its consumers, but also recognizes the worth that lies in them.
And to some bilateral relations stories, the Indonesian ambassador to Nigeria, Ambassador Usra Harahap, says the trade volume between his country and Nigeria has dropped due to the high demand for crude oil and other commodities from Nigeria, as he vows to balance up the trade. Addressing journalists in Abuja at an event to mark the 78th National Day of Indonesia, Ambassador Harahap disclosed that the Indonesian economy is returning to normal after the COVID-19 pandemic, and both countries are planning to deepen collaboration on vaccines production, trade and also education.
This trade, a little bit, to be honest, I told you that we are deficit because we import many crude oil, $3.8 million, and we export only $500,000 US. But the other sector, we have a lot of collaboration, the trade, something like for the next, we have a planning to establish the vaccine factory here together after we have granted the vaccine to Nigeria, and we have already have a planning. And several weeks ago, the Ministry of Health staff came to Indonesia led by the Permanent Secretary. So talk and also visited to BioVaccine, BioPharma. BioPharma is to produce the BioVaccine, pentavalent vaccine. And we talked very seriously about how to establish the corporation, especially for establish the, what we call it, factory to produce vaccine here.
Now let's go around the world. In 5 dozens of migrants are feared dead off the coast of Cape Verde, one of the world's deadliest migration routes, as advocates renew calls for safe journey pathways. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international stories.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. More than 60 people are feared dead after a boat carrying migrants was found off Cape Verde in West Africa. 38 people, including children, were rescued, with footage showing them being helped ashore, some on stretchers on the island of Sol. Almost all those on board the boat, which was at sea for over a month, are thought to have been from Senegal. Cape Verde officials have called for global action on migration to help prevent further loss of life. The vessel was first spotted on Monday. Initial reports suggested the boat had sunk, but it was later clarified that it had been found drifting. More than 100 people have been arrested in an East Pakistani city after thousands of Muslims burned churches and vandalized homes. The violence in Jaranwala was sparked by claims that 2 Christian men had torn pages from the Quran. A Muslim crowd attacked a Christian community in eastern Pakistan, vandalizing several churches and setting scores of houses on fire after accusing 2 of its members of desecrating the Quran. The historic Salvation Army Church was still smouldering on Thursday, one day after the riot. Police said the attack was against 2 Christians in the industrial district of Faisalabad who were accused of blasphemy and that they had fled home with their families. Blasphemy is punishable by death in Pakistan, and though no one has ever been executed for it, numerous accused people have been lynched by outraged crowds. A senior official has said ECOWAS stands ready to intervene militarily in Niger should diplomatic efforts to reverse a coup there fail. It comes as defence chiefs from the West African bloc have begun a 2-day meeting to discuss their response to the coup in Niger. The threat of military force to end the coup has led to significant divisions in the region. At least 10 people are thought to have died after a light aircraft crashed on a highway in Malaysia's El Mima city, just outside the capital Kuala Lumpur. Smoke and charred debris covered the road, which was closed after the small aircraft crashed. Police said that 2 motorists and 8 people on board the plane were killed when it hit Guthrie Highway near El Mina. The Aviation Authority, however, did not confirm the death toll. The plane, a Beechcraft Model 390, was travelling from Langkawi to Selangor and was attempting to land when it crashed. One of the largest cities in Canada's far north is being evacuated amid warnings that a wildfire could reach it by the weekend. Canada is enduring its worst wildfire season, with more than 1,000 active fires burning across the country, including 230 in the Northwest Territories. The 20,000 residents of Yellowknife, the capital of the Northwest Territories, have been given until noon on Friday to leave. As of late on Wednesday, the fire was within 17 kilometres of the city. Another fire is threatening the community of Hay River. The heir to the Spanish throne, 17-year-old Princess Leonor, has arrived at a military academy in Zaragoza to undergo 3 years of training. Seen here in the blue top, the princess will receive her first year of training at the Army Military Academy in Zaragoza, then go to a naval school, which includes sailing the Juan Sebastian Elcano training tallship, and finish her studies at the General Air Academy. The government and the Royal House have agreed her very intense military training will precede university studies, following in the footsteps of her father in the 1980s. And a US media report says that the pop star Britney Spears and her husband Sam Asghari have split after 14 months of marriage. The couple first met on the set of a Spears music video in 2016 and were married in a small but star-studded ceremony in June 2022. Ashgari supported Spears through her mental health treatment and the end of her conservatorship, but rumours of their marital struggles have been splashed across US tabloids. Representatives for Spears and Ashgari have not yet commented. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thanks, Simon. Back here on Sports is cheering news for Nigerian athletics. Reigning world 100 meters hurdles champion and record holder Tobi Amusan has been cleared to compete at the World Athletics Championship, which starts this weekend in Budapest, Hungary. The 26-year-old had been charged by the Athletics Integrity Unit with 3 whereabout failures, an anti-doping rule violation for missing 3 out of competition tests within a period of 12 months. And the Nigerian went ahead to contest the charge. And gladly, this evening, majority decision by a panel of disciplinary tribunal has exonerated Amusan of any wrongdoing, and therefore her provisional suspension has now been lifted with immediate effect. In 48 hours, Nigeria's Bendel Insurance will be up against ASO Chief of Algeria at the CAF Confederation Cup preliminary, and the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, is quite optimistic that the Benin Arsenal will emerge victorious at the Samuel Egbomedia Stadium. Continental football returns to the state after decades of absence, which the governor believes will delight every fan in that state.
I'm glad I came here myself to see the boys, to see the spirit with which they are preparing for the match. And like you can see for yourself, they are putting in their all, so we are quite optimistic that with the support the home crowd will give them, they should win that match on Saturday. We want our people, I wanted those to come and enjoy what we have provided. Let them come in, have a good time. We can't always sit in our houses and watch the Premier League. Let's also develop our own league. And I believe these are the beginnings of getting our people more interested in local sports and, putting our own money here.
Now, keep your eyes on this screen for a moment. Manchester City duo Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland are among the 3 finalists for the Men's UEFA Player of the Year award alongside Lionel Messi. The trio emerged as the leading vote-getters from a jury comprised of coaches of clubs of the UEFA competitions, those in charge of European national teams, including a select group of journalists, and the winner of the prize will be revealed on August the 31st in Monaco. So any of these 3 gentlemen will emerge victorious on that day. Let's move on now. Sebastian Coe has been re-elected president of World Athletics for the 3rd term after his 54th Congress in Budapest earlier today. The re-elected president sees a bright future for the world of athletics.
Of course, monitor that. It's everywhere you look. I mean, the one thing I'm more optimistic about the future of our sport now based on the quality of athletes that are coming through. These championships are, probably the word litter is not the best way of describing them, but that they are going to add luster to these championships in the way that we haven't, for many, many years. Many of them are going to be around a long time. If I go back to Doha, I think something like 25% of the medalists were all under the age of 25. That's actually got slightly, I believe statistically, that's got slightly less. Yes, I do care about that, but I think in terms of the array of talent and the way that talent is breaking through.
And that's it on sports. Millicent is back to you.
Thanks, Jeffrey. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu again appealed to Nigerians for understanding over the harsh economic realities facing the country following drastic reforms by the federal government. The president's message was delivered by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, at a book launch in honor of elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark. Also today, the federal government approved 5 billion naira for each state of the federation, as well as trucks of rice as palliatives to cushion effect of the removal of fuel subsidy. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.